Coming up on CTV News tonight, experts in rebuilding disaster-struck areas converge on Christchurch, and the last task is completed in the dome removal from the Catholic Basilica. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Rob Cope-Williams. International speakers from around the globe have been brought to Christchurch for a speaker series this weekend to share their experiences in redeveloping cities and communities devastated by natural and human disasters. Gracie Fee caught up with a few of them to get their thoughts on the best way for Christchurch to move forward.
They say trial and error and learning from experience is the best way forward, but why not cheat a little and learn from others who have been there already? Christchurch has been given that opportunity with the world's most experienced in rebuilding disaster-struck cities here to offer their advice on the draft Central City Plan. Sam Martin, a London-based international landscape architect, specialises in creating spaces which have the human factor and looking at people and the way they interact with their environment.
One of the things that my three children born in London have an issue with in Christchurch is that wherever we go, whenever we come to Christchurch and go anywhere, it's in a car. So they always have to hop in the car. Whereas in London you walk everywhere, or you hop in a bus, or you cycle. And what I think would be nice in Christchurch is to have the first choice would be walking or cycling, second choice would be public transport, and third choice would be the car. I think that would be a nice way for the city to evolve.
He's here as part of an international speaker series being held at Canterbury University this weekend and has an interesting vision for the city.
Get people able to be connected to the landscape in a much stronger sense. So there's talk of the light rail, and I think that's a great idea, but I think that the idea of cycling and walking needs to be far more engaged with, and not cycling and walking down a footpath or down the road, but in amongst vegetation and the landscape.
And it's about starting from scratch.
One of the images that I will be showing is a painting from the top of the Port Hills looking over the area that is now Christchurch, which was an estuary and two rivers and a bit of forest. And that's the starting point, and I think that's the opportunity we have, is to reinforce the sense of place on which Christchurch is based.
Being a born and bred Cantabrian, he has a true feeling of what the city's about.
I have a strong affinity with Christchurch as a place. The place has changed, and it's going to be a lot different in 10 years' time than what it was now. I mean, it would have been anyway, even irrespective of an earthquake or not, but it's an ever-evolving city, and it needs to be considered in that sense.
Kerry O'Neill also understands the importance of connecting people with their city. She was responsible for the social planning for urban renewal projects after the 2009 Victorian bushfires and says local involvement is crucial in redeveloping a city, something Christchurch's Central City Draft Plan has helped create.
It's been so important to identifying what the priorities are for rebuilding, what matters most to those communities about the character and identity of the places that they really loved and I guess now really miss. So it's been important to think about what those buildings look like and how you can rebuild those communities.
She says the success of Victoria's rebuild came from including people's ideas, which inevitably attracts them back to the city and entices them to stay.
It builds a relationship, I think, with the new city, and the challenges, of course, are how you ensure that people stay here and reinvest back in the city. So I think it's important to think, as the city rebuilds, what you can put in place alongside the rebuilding process to allow people to show a bit of initiative and perhaps to do some sort of interim things that bring the city to life and make it a place where there's lots happening, lots of colour and movement, lots of small business activities that are a step towards, the more permanent new economy.
Sam agrees and believes having people in touch with their environment through creating the right space is what will keep them here.
Things are evolving and changing, and it can be just it's such an important aspect of the city that there is life in the middle, and part of what I'm going to be talking about is injecting some life back into the middle from the start as soon as we can.
The inner part of the Catholic Basilica's dome has been successfully lifted out, leaving the dome removal project complete, but to the shock of many, there was an unexpected surprise to follow.
The internal dome of the Catholic Basilica has been lifted safely without damage, but it was what came out next that caused the excitement.
That was unbelievable. It was the last thing I was expecting, to turn around and suddenly see the cross come out. Fantastic.
But to have the structure secured safely on the ground was a huge relief and just as much of a delightful sight.
We missed out on getting the copper, the outer structure out in one piece because of change of methodology. To actually get the inner dome out, it's a coup. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm really happy.
But the excitement didn't stop there for the engineers, who may have set a worldwide precedent.
I'm not sure whether it's been done before in New Zealand or anywhere else for that matter, but yeah, well, it's been great that we've been able to pull it out intact. It's quite a decorative a feature of the basilica.
The internal dome lost support at the base after all but 6 columns collapsed in the February earthquake, meaning it was only supported by timber joists at the top and a thin damaged cantilever concrete slab at the base. Jamie Lester says the project was surprisingly straightforward. Once they had removed the external dome a few weeks ago, they were able to see inside and how the internal dome was fixed into the building.
It was actually just sitting there at the bottom and tied in at the top, so it was easy to release the bits that were tied in and just connect it up and gently lift it out.
But its fate remains unclear.
We've salvaged it, so it's something we've been able to pull off the building intact. Whether it gets reused somewhere else or as part of the rebuild, we're not sure yet. That's something that's got to be worked through.
However, its short-term future is a bit more certain.
The first big dome has been taken apart and it's been stored in a warehouse, and this one we probably keep in one piece. So we're going to wrap it in plastic and cart it out to a big warehouse.
Cathedral Square may still be off limits after February's earthquake, but that won't stop volunteers at its police kiosk from celebrating their 25-year anniversary. And as Samantha Early found out, they're hoping to be back.
It's right in the middle of the red zone, but these guys are still keen to get back here and help the boys and girls in blue. The police kiosk in Cathedral Square was set up in 1986, following a murder in the central city and a string of high-profile violence and homicides throughout the country. It was first based in a small office nearby, then moved to this building, a former bus ticket office, a couple of years later. Over the past quarter century, hundreds have helped out at the kiosk, handling inquiries and paperwork, freeing up police time.
They've kept the door open for us, they're the face for us, they help us out on a lot of low-level stuff. The phones get answered, and generally it's open and available to the public, which we wouldn't have if we didn't have the volunteers.
About 100 past and present volunteers and police are gathering for a celebration dinner tonight to mark the anniversary and recognise their efforts.
Well, it means a lot because when the idea was first mooted, apparently there was quite a few police that said it wouldn't last 5 minutes, and then they said it wouldn't last 6 months, and now we've got 25 years.
The kiosk is still being used by police staff, but has been off limits to the volunteers. Many are keeping themselves involved by monitoring the crime cameras, helping out at suburban stations or going on community watch patrols, but they still miss the square and the interaction with the public.
There's people from all over the world call into the kiosk. Many reasons, directions, lost van, things like that.
Good news for Rod though. The police are keen to continue with the kiosk when the central city reopens.
This is a short-term hiccup as far as I'm concerned, and why wouldn't you? You know, just because we've had an earthquake doesn't mean it's the end of the volunteers. Far from it. In fact, I'd probably suggest that it's an opportunity to maybe increase it.
That's music to the ears of these committed community helpers.
A lot of the volunteers are ringing me and saying, when will we get back? Watch news on the kiosk and everything. It has been frustrating for a lot of people.
The place is usually buzzing, you know, people playing chess, walking around, music, entertainment and all that. Today it's dead.
Coming up after the break, an enlargement to Christchurch Hospital. Welcome back. The Canterbury District Health Board is planning to enlarge its acute medical assessment unit and move the outpatients department. They want to have their general medicine services back on one site after being split up since February's earthquake.
Constructing a newer and bigger acute medical assessment unit will create extra beds and allow general medicine services to move back to one site after they were split between the Princess Margaret Hospital and Christchurch Hospital following the February 22 earthquake.
It'll be on the ground floor of the hospital, not far from the emergency department, and it'll enable us to coordinate the care of people with general medical problems very soon after they get in hospital.
The Canterbury District Health Board plans to move the Parkside Outpatients Department to a new location on St Asaph Street, freeing up space for the expansion of the Acute Medical Assessment Unit from 25 to 36 beds.
Yeah, the outpatients department is currently on the ground floor of the Parkside block, and we'll move that across the road to St Asaph Street. And that'll obviously frees up the space. Again, it allows us to start from scratch in designing a space for outpatients and making sure it's tailored to modern care needs.
The hospital has been operating with 35 fewer beds this winter, and CDHB Chief Medical Officer Nigel Miller says the enlargement will see a reduced demand for ward beds and allow general services to move back to the Christchurch Hospital site.
So it means that's concentrated in one place, you have the right staffing. It's easier for the nursing and medical staff to focus on those particular issues, so we can get care started earlier, early diagnosis, and hopefully more effective treatment so people can leave hospital earlier.
The existing acute medical assessment unit was established 5 years ago and has meant less time spent in the emergency department. But the enlarged unit will mean even less time spent in ED, moving to a full 7-day service with extended consultant and accepting direct admissions from general practice, therefore bypassing ED.
To have quite a number come straight from their GP straight into that unit, and then to provide the first 24 hours care approximately. Quite a number of people will be able to go home then, as they do now, and then the rest would be admitted to a general medical ward.
The secret for many people when it comes to buying a Father's Day present is how to spend as little as possible but make it look expensive. A local gun store has the ideal solution. So what could be a very expensive Father's Day present will cost $1.
Yes, we are putting this surprise mystery package in the store for someone with a firearms licence to find on the day. We thought it would just be our little gift to one person that they can buy quite an expensive firearm for only $1 on Father's Day sale.
So when is the Father's Day sale?
On Father's Day, well, the Saturday, the 3rd of September.
Because the Father's Day is actually the Sunday.
Sunday, that's right.
So the person who buys it for $1 can wrap it on Saturday night.
That's right. Spend a whole day wrapping it and maybe even trying it out.
So tell me, how does it work that it has to be found?
Yes, so the person needs to locate it in the store. That person needs to have a firearms licence, and that person needs to see the tag with the $1 price written on it and identify it by make and model number, Moroku 3800 or whatever, which is written on the tag so that we can see that they really have found it, located it, and they really do have permission to buy it.
Do you think there'll be a queue at 8 o'clock or whatever time you open on a Saturday?
We hope so. 9 o'clock, we hope so. And we'll have some sausages out there for those waiters.
So it'll be somewhere in the racks?
It will be locked in a rack, and of course we have racks on the body of the in the body of the store and around the outside wall, and even I don't know the location of it at this stage.
So this is obviously a pretty big sort of a gimmick, but you know, it's a big lost leader.
Well, we like to. We are believers that when you give, you get more back. So if we give this out, then I'm sure that it'll make our sale even bigger and better than they normally are.
Christchurch City Council civic offices in Hereford Street have been declared safe and has no major structural damage, according to a new engineering report. The council and Ngātahu Property commissioned a review of the civic offices following the September, February and June earthquakes. The report says that as the former New Zealand Post building, it was designed for industrial purposes, which has meant it's stronger than required for general office use, even by today's standards. Welcome back. Deconstruction of the Radio Shack will begin this Sunday with the removal of the roof. The old brick heritage building forms part of the Christchurch Boys High campus and has been a landmark in Christchurch since it was constructed by John Deans II in 1874. The building suffered significant damage in the earthquakes and will be deconstructed rather than demolished, so heritage features from the building can be retained. The school then plans to reuse these during restoration of the 2 remaining Deans Farms buildings, which have been less damaged by the earthquakes. Christchurch singles are finding it difficult to mingle living in an earthquake zone with little nightlife, so Cupid's stepping in.
It's an opportunity to get away and have a little bit of fun. It starts with a train journey from Christchurch up to Kaikoura and from Blenheim down to Kaikoura. And there's activities for the people that are attending. They can choose whale watch, fishing on the Sophie Rose, guaranteed cooked crayfish at the end of the journey, or even a cart luge trip. So lots of opportunities. The people that are going are really quite a fun bunch and they're very much looking forward to it. I hear that the people from Blenheim are quite characters, so I think there's going to be a little bit of fun going on.
And especially in this tough time around the earthquake, you can't really meet people because you can't go into town. How good is it to have something like this for Christchurch people at the moment?
It's really good. There's such a hole and there's such a need for somewhere to go. It has closed down. The single people have become quite lonely. It's hard enough being single at the best of times, but now where do you go to meet people? So we've created this opportunity out of a club that we run and opened it to the public. And the response has been really good. It's the first event. We'll do it again next year and just grow it from there.
Okay, and you've got I think it was a romantic dinner and a dance or something, was it?
It's themed, yes. We've arranged a really lovely themed dinner at Donegal House, which is an Irish pub, and we're theming it. It's not Irish, and it's a beautiful big open fire, so really cosy. I'm sure there's going to be a lot going on, and I think the people are really fired up, Gracie, for going and having a good time, meeting the people, not necessarily to find somebody to link with, but just to get away, get out, since things have been so bad. Yeah.
Are you expecting many to get together?
It has happened. It does happen quite easily because we're the vehicle and we just create the opportunity. It is up to them, but I mean, it's quite on the cards, especially when they've got that cosy time going up in the train and coming back in the train and having the fun activities while they're there and the music, the dancing and everything.
Canterbury grown apples should be eaten by Australians in the near future despite all the Australian efforts to block their importation.
I think there's a bigger picture here now, Rob. We're talking about overall, when we get going properly with the export, about $30 million worth of fruit going to Australia, apples to Australia, and you know this year there's going to be a small amount of that as a sort of a taster, as it were. And you know we import $8 billion worth of product from Australia, so if they're going to be silly enough to jeopardise something like that, with our CEO arrangement we have got, I think we'll win, and the Australians will just have to eat our apples. It's going to be a difficult haul. I mean, it's been 90 years, for goodness sake. We've actually got them over there. We're well and truly fulfilled the hygiene requirements and all the quarantine things and what have you. In fact, it's a joke. But yeah, give it another 2 or 3 months and they'll be eating our apples.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Because I mean, that CER thing is an absolute joke anyway. It's so imbalanced, it's ridiculous.
It is. But I think our relationship between, even if it is a national government and a Labor government, conceivably, they are talking a lot more now. They know they do realise we have to do some things together, and this is just a little glitch that the Australians don't like and the Kiwis do like, and I think we're going to win this one, just like we are at the rugby on Saturday night.
Exactly. What do you reckon about the World Cup, very briefly?
Oh, marvellous team. Can't wait for it to start.
Good point, good point. Lime and sulphur and copper and such.
Yeah, well, this time of the year where growers are starting to look at buds breaking and all sorts of fruit crops, especially we're talking here, and we do need to treat a number of them with lime sulphur for lichen and bugs and grubs that are sitting in there that need to be tidied up. It's a good strong product, and it's an organic product. So it's a natural product. It's not very nice to use, I must admit, to apply. It smells like a Rotorua, but because of the sulphur, but it is a good product, and it's something that needs to be done to clean up all the bugs and what have you that may be lurking there through the winter. And especially lichen. If you can remove lichen, it takes away the host areas for especially mite and aphid going forward.
Oh, really?
So that's one of the main roles.
Of course, copper is also very handy for frost protection.
Well, it is. There's a number of reasons why we use copper at this time of the year, and frost protection is certainly one of them. Copper has the ability to remove bacteria, also biotoxins, which are things that if you leave on organic fruit, believe it or not, can be rejected on overseas exports because they've got biotoxins on the fruit.
And that's CTV News. I'm Rob Cope-Williams.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.